No, my friends, we are not isolated. We are not alone. We are in this together. So, the Trump doctrine. This, my friends, lays it all out. For all the erratic and seemingly crazy and bizarre stunts that you see from people like Shady Vance and Donald Trump and Lion Pete Hoekstra, there is a plan here. And it is a very dangerous plan. Trump has laid it out in the national security statement that was just released. And there's two elements I'm going to talk about. One is the impacts on Europe right now with the threat facing Ukraine and the gangster attacks from Putin, and also what it means for Canada. Anyone who thought in Canada, all our pundits and our politicians and our bright evening people who do the blah, blah, he said, she said on the evening news in the politics panels, who thought we were just going to go through this rough patch of ground and then come out the other side, that's not going to happen. Trump, I don't think he was ever serious about making us a 51st state because he would never give us those kind of rights. What Trump is doing is trying to turn us into a vassal state. And you know, the Toronto Star actually in their headline the other day referred for the first time that I've seen in the Canadian mainstream media the Trump plan to turn us into a vassal state. This is the language I've been using since I began the resistance. And it's important to talk about that. I'm not bragging that I used vassal state when the rest of the media were just saying Trump was being Trump. It's that if you know and you see how Trump has operated over the last 40 years, it is so clear. This is gangster politics. What the Trump doctrine that he's just laid out and released is a worldview based on intimidation, threat, and shakedowns, just like gangsters. You know, James Comey in 2017, when Trump was elected, was invited to a private dinner at the White House with Donald Trump, where Donald demanded James Comey, as FBI director, swear personal loyalty, not to the Constitution, to the rule of law, but to Donald Trump himself. And at the same time, he demanded Comey back off on the Russian investigation. And Comey writes, "The encounter left me shaken. I have never seen anything like it in the Oval Office. As I found myself thrust into the Trump orbit, I was having flashbacks to my earlier career as a prosecutor of the mob, the silent oath of assent, the boss in complete control, the lying about all things large and small." What happened next is really deeply concerning, and it ties us into where we are today. Comey told Trump that he could not give him personal loyalty. He would be loyal to the Constitution, and he was not going to back off the Russian investigation. And Trump fired him. And then Trump invited, right after that, into the White House, Sergei Kislyak, the Russian ambassador who was deeply implicated with every one of the key Trump operatives who were later charged and sent to jail for the Russian interference and for their role in the US elections. Sergei Kislyak was invited into the Oval Office along with Sergei Lavrov, who is the hard man for Vladimir Putin. And that's when Trump announced that he had fired Comey. He invited these two senior Russians, particularly Lavrov, into the White House. He actually handed over to Lavrov US intelligence that was classified, and then he bragged to them and announced that he had fired Comey. Why does this matter? Because everything Donald Trump has done has been done in plain view. Everyone can see it, and everyone shrugged at every step of the way. The fact that former CIA intelligence officers were saying clearly that they believed that Trump was not only a Russian asset, but that he was working directly for Russia. So what does this mean in terms of the Trump doctrine? Well, this is a staggering document because it comes as Vladimir Putin is trying to con the world with this maximalist capitulation demand of Ukraine, which he's had Donald Trump and Donald Trump's corrupt, rotten family promoting, along with the likes of J.D. Vance, to force Ukraine to submit to the illegal invasion, to giving up land, to destroying their sovereignty. And the only thing that's stopping it right now is we have Europe and the West struggling amongst themselves to stand up to Putin. Here's the thing, Putin is not winning this war. He's had over 1 million casualties. The Russian economy is tanking. This is the moment when the West needs to hold the line together, but that's not going to happen because we have the Russian sock puppet in the White House, and Trump has released his document on selling out Europe, on betraying Europe. And as well, Trump is now saying that the American doctrine, when they're looking for allies, they're not looking for allies like Germany, like France, like the UK, like Canada. They're looking for allies amongst racist, extremist parties. It's all there in the document. Trump is supporting the extreme right race parties because he claims that the Europeans are no longer a white civilization, that they're facing civilization erasure. This is this neo-Nazi white supremacist white replacement theory that, you know, black and brown people are going to destroy the white race. Trump has brought this as a national policy in the US where they're targeting immigrants, they're targeting people of color, where Trump is calling people from Somalia garbage, human garbage. This is right out of the Nazi language. You know, Trump has called immigrants poison in the blood. This is Hitler language, to call people garbage. You know, you would think that that would shock people. It gets barely a nod or barely a shrug in the US media. This is where they're going. So now he's attacking Europe for not pushing mass deportations. And he's saying that the US is very optimistic and is siding now with the extreme right in Romania, the extreme right in Germany, the extreme right in France, the extreme right in the UK on the issue of race. I just recently talked about how Trump has given the marching orders to his ambassadors like Lion Pete Hoekstra to start pressuring Canada and pressuring other former allies into attacking immigrants. This is race theory as international diplomacy. And also, who else is supporting the far right in Germany, the far right in France, the far right in Romania, the far right in Hungary, the far right in the UK? Vladimir Putin. So Trump and Putin are these two gangster regimes trying to undermine 80 plus years of the West working together for democracy, for the rule of law. And so what does that mean for Canada? Well, obviously in such a worldview, Canada cannot be allowed to remain as an independent country. But what Trump has brought forward is he wants to bring back the 19th century gunboat diplomacy of the Monroe Doctrine, where Trump is declaring that North America and South America will be run by the United States. So in that worldview, Canada will be a vassal state. Trump will push us around. He will destroy our auto sector. He will destroy anything he wants, and he will take from us whatever he wants. And he expects us to go along to get along. And that's not going to happen. So what do? Well, number one, we have to say that Canada will no longer give any ground in negotiations. No concessions. I've talked about this before, but every time we give ground to MAGA, they take that ground and then demand more. They are not looking for peace with us. They will be coming after the Kuzma trade deal. It is hurting them, and we're going to get into that in future episodes, the massive damage being done to the United States by Trump's aggressive foreign policy. We have to hold the line. We have to hold that line. We cannot give ground. Number two, we need to dramatically increase our alliances with Europe and support for Ukraine. Ukraine is the front line right now. If Ukraine is allowed to fall, who's to say that Trump is not going to turn on us next? He is a complete imitator of Vladimir Putin's gangster-style politics. If he's willing to send the army against Portland, why wouldn't he send the army against Calgary? This is why we need those alliances, and we need to make sure that we are building outwards to Western allies in democratic countries and insulating ourselves. It is going to mean that we're going to have to dramatically increase military. The F-35, if we don't buy the F-35, it will send Trump into a rage. It's part of his Monroe Doctrine. We can't buy the F-35. We have to draw the line now, even if it means the threats increase, because the threats will increase. Number three, this is another, what we also need to do is we need to expect better of our politicians. Some of them get it, but many of them seem to be preferring to throw sand in the sandbox as though this is just another silly day in Parliament and in our provincial legislatures. This is an all-hands-on-deck moment, and they better step up. But finally, Canadians, keep doing what you're doing. I know this seems like really dark message that I'm delivering here, but it's what you know, it's what you've been expecting, it's what you've been seeing from the beginning. The boycott that you have maintained is having a huge impact. We have to hold the line. We just got to keep doing what we're doing. If everybody does their part, we just may get through this. And right now, Canada is a light to the world. The rest of the world is watching us because they see us as a front line. So my fellow Canadians, Trump has laid out just how dangerous and malevolent he is. He's laid out the plan that shows the United States has ceased to be a democratic nation and is now pushing dangerous race hate and undermining democracies and thinking they can shake countries like Canada down. We're not going to kiss that gangster ring. We are not going to bend. Not now, not ever. And we will be standing one day longer and one day stronger than anything MAGA can throw at us. That's the news for today from Midas Canada. Keep kicking at that darkness. It's going to bleed daylight. Thank you, merci, and megwitch.